Hey, more nonsense. I'm reading this article. It's an Ezra Klein article. Read it the other day. It's in Bloomberg. When government says no to rising costs. And the whole premise of the article is that there are some goods where the free market doesn't work. And he points out healthcare and education. And he says that consumers need healthcare and they need education. They don't have a choice. They can't go without it. And therefore, businesses can gouge you. In contrast to he uses a television set. He says that Best Buy, you don't need a television set. And so if it's too expensive, you can refuse to buy it. And therefore, you get a good price. But you can't refuse education. You have to get it. This is all complete nonsense. Now, Ezra, he points out that some Republicans blame the rising costs of education and health care on the government subsidies. But he dismisses that out of hand by saying that's crazy because, after all, the reason the subsidies are there is because the costs are going up and the voters need help. That's nonsense because, it wasn't until the subsidies existed that the costs started going up. College and health care costs were not a problem for 100, 150 years until the government got involved. If this was true, that somehow health care and education were exempt from market forces, then prices for these would have been going up, from the beginning. They would have always been going up. They wouldn't have started going up when the government got involved. Yes, one of the reasons that the politicians do pander for things like health care and education is because people don't like to spend money on health care. They'd rather not get sick. They'd rather spend nothing on health care. So when you tell somebody the government's going to pay for your health care, okay, I'll vote for you. I mean, it's an easy way to get votes. And of course, as the subsidies drive the cost of health care up even higher, then it's even a more lucrative way or fertile ground for vote pandering. But let's think about that for a second. This idea that, the seller has you over a barrel. What about food? I mean, I would argue that we need food more than we need education or health care. Because without food, you're going to die. But the farmer can't gouge you, because there are other farmers. There are other supermarkets. There are other types of food. What about clothing? Clearly, we need clothing more than we need education. You can't be naked. Yet the clothes manufacturers, they don't gouge us. They're still subject to free market forces. Look, you need everything. People need a car today. I mean, if you don't have a car, how are you going to get to work? But, the car companies, they don't have us over a barrel. Yeah, people need to be educated. But there are plenty of people competing in a free market, would be competing to educate us, to educate our children. Just like people compete to feed us, to clothe us, to house us. All the things that we need, we get a good deal because there are competitors trying to give us the lowest price at the highest quality. The same thing is true with education. The same thing is true with healthcare. Yes, you need healthcare, but doctors need patients. Hospitals need patients. They have to compete for those patients. Just because I need something doesn't mean that I'm going to have to pay through the nose to get it, because there are people who need my business. It's a free market. This whole thing is absurd. You're going to come out and say that, you just have to pay. That whatever a college wants to charge, you just have to pay it because you need that degree. How many colleges are competing? And, even if all the colleges raise the price to the point where you don't need it anymore, it's all about value for money. And if a college education is too high, then nobody needs it.